Hi BookTube and happy August. I have quite the TBR to share with you because there are 3 different readathons that sounded just great. So I wanted to participate in all of them. So I have maybe 25, 30 books-ish to share with you. Don't worry, I'm not going to go into too great a detail because we would be here forever. But it's funny because I don't necessarily have 30 days to read 30 books because I have a work trip at the end of this month. So really I only have 3 weeks to do it, but we can always dream, can't we? So I am going to be participating in GarbAugust, deck of TBRathon, and Oldest August. So I will leave a link in the description below to all of the different hosts for these events. So I'll start with GarbAugust and work my way through it. So for GarbAugust, if you haven't heard about it on BookTube, I feel like it's a very popular event, but in case you haven't heard about it, it's where you read trashy books. And for my take on that is books that have like a million books in in the series. And so I have Sweet Valley High books, Janet Ivanovich, and category romance. I don't necessarily consider any of these garbage books. I think they all have their time and place kind of thing. And especially the category romance, I don't consider them like trashy or garbage books at all. But they fit the categories for this readathon, so I'm going with it. So I will start with the Sweet Valley High books. I have collected these over the years, over the last like 2 years or so, whenever I happen upon them at like library book sales or thrift stores and things like that. So I have a Sweet Valley High super thriller. Sweet Valley High, I think it just came out as that initial series, and then they have many spin-offs, as you can tell from these books here. So this is a super thriller, Murder on the Line. So I think these are actually like, and someone like blacked out this information here. I wonder if it's like a number within the series. I don't think it is. It's like like they're like slotted in within the numbers. So I think, I don't know how long Sweet Valley High went on for, like 100, 200 books, something like that. So anyway, digression. I have this one, and then I have a Sweet Valley Saga book, the Wakefield Legacy, the Untold Story. I think there was a couple of these different generational sagas. I feel like these were very popular, at the time of when these were written, like back in like the 80s or 90s, because I know this came out in 92, because I know I've read other books, not Sweet Valley High at all, but other drama, epic dramas, that have that. And so here is the different generations there, with a full like little step back here. And then I have a SVH Senior Year book, Say It to My Face. So this must be when like the TV show was going. I've never seen the TV show, but it says, I would never do the things they're saying, especially not with him. Ugh. Just the thought of him makes me want to hurl. So it's like, teenage drama in a high school. And then I have a Sweet Valley, speaking of high school, now we're jumping to university. This is the first book in the Sweet Valley University series, College Girls. And then I have, and then going all the way back to when they were younger, this is Sweet Valley Twins, a super chiller, the Carnival of Ghosts. So yeah, I have a whole plethora of Sweet Valley related books. I don't have, when I was looking through my stack of books, I have a couple more actually on my my shelf here, but I just wanted to get one from the different lines. But I don't have any of the original Sweet Valley High, so I'll have to I need to make a correction there. But these are following 2 twin sisters living in Sweet Valley, California, and they're like the perfect teenagers because they have like the blonde hair and they're very slim and tan, and but there's 2 different twins. Elizabeth, who is like the reader, writer, straight A student, and then you have Jessica, which is like the evil sociopath twin who does everything to get her way and makes everything about her, and is like very conniving and will lie and cheat, and that kind of thing. But they're fun reads. So I have those. And then for Janet Ivanovich, I've been reading her books since, I want to say 2004 or 2005. So I've been following the series off and on for quite the number of years. And I am up to the most recent one published, and that's Dirty 30. This is a Stephanie Plum novel. and she lost her job, and so she doesn't have much of an education, you know, with like university degrees or anything like that. And so she like kind of falls into becoming a bounty hunter in New Jersey. So you have like some of like, I guess like, I've never been to New Jersey, but like that New Jersey kind of humor about they're in Trenton area and like the Burg. And so she gets in all sorts of shenanigans, and she has a sidekick, and they're always eating fast food and getting donuts and getting into the mix of trouble. So it's like a funny mystery, but heavy on the, I guess, like the fun side of things. I don't know. These are kind of, you know, speaking of GarbAugust, I feel like this is like the most GarbAugust of the books I have to share with you, because I know that this is in no way considered literature, but I've been following it for so long, since I was in high school as a teenager, and so I can't help but just watch the train wreck, if you will. And then another Janet Ivanovich book. It's Janet Ivanovich and Lee Goldberg, The Heist. I read all of Janet Ivanovich's like single, like without the series, like her original like rom-coms, but I haven't read any of her work with a co-writer. And so this will be a totally new series for me. And there was 3 books. I have a whole like bind up I got from the library. And then as for category romance, I'm going to be focusing on B.J. Daniels, which is one of, I think is my favorite category romance writer. And she writes wonderful, suspenseful mystery westerns. And they always feature a rancher or a cowboy or a cowgirl. Like, and the author was born and raised in Montana, and so it has a lot of that, you know, Montana scenery and you know, vibes with it. And so yeah, this is Cardwell Ranch Trespasser. I think this is book 3 in the series. I've been reading you know, each of her series at a go. I have been trying, she has written so many different series. I just stumbled upon her, you know, thanks to BookTube. Was it last year? And so I am late to the game, so I have plenty of books to read by her. So I'm hoping to read maybe 1 a week. 4 books would be good. But there's so many other category romance writers you could follow. There's hundreds. This is just one of them that I want to like focus on and spotlight this month. Okay, so then going to Oldest August. When I heard about this readathon, I was like, oh my goodness, I need to do this for my mental well-being. Because it's all about reading the oldest books on your shelf, whether they are physical books on your shelf or on a list, or on a TBR list that you have, or your ebook collection, you know, what have you, your library loan list, whatever, however you want to interpret it. So for me, I want to focus on all of these books on my shelves, because I moved here for almost 4 years ago, and when I moved here, I didn't have a single, I didn't have a single book. And so now I have 3 bookcases, not full to the brim, but round up, you know. So I have a lot of books to get to. And so I was like, for this readathon, I wanted to focus on the oldest books on my TBR. So I went back through my BookTube videos to look at my book hauls from the first year I was here. And I have to say, I did pretty good. I read most of those books, so I had to go from when I moved here all the way until May of that year, so like 9 months of me living here, to pull out these 20 books or so. So that's decent, I think, considering how many books I brought in. So yeah, there's my pass on that. But yeah, I had so much fun like picking out these books. I was like, oh yeah, like I remember reading that book, or I was like, oh yeah, I haven't got to it yet. So I'm like, yeah, so these books are 3.5, almost 4 years old going on. So yeah, I feel like I want to keep doing this. Like once I finish the oldest and August readathon, I feel like each month, and I know people do this too, of like revisiting your book hauls, and I think it would be a fantastic idea for me. So I might just keep going until I catch up and just read all of it, because I like the randomization here. So yeah, I will just briefly go through some of these. Let me move my Sweet Valley out of the way. So I'll start with some of the children's books. I have so many of these books on my shelf because I get these from Little Free Libraries, and so I've been collecting the Newbery Honor and Winter books. And so this is one I've had on my shelf for the longest time. This is by Karen Cushman, The Midwife's Apprentice. And I think it's the cover that's made me steer clear from it, I guess, all this time. That, and I have so many other Newbery books I need to read. But I don't know, something about it. Yeah. And funny, this is the book I just started. I'm on chapter 3, and I don't mind it so far, but it's about a girl where her nickname is Beetle, and she's been living in a dung heap, like trash heap, because it's a little bit warm. There's a little bit of warmth coming from the decomposing trash. So yeah, I don't know. It was funny, the cover doesn't show that at all, but yeah. Anyway, happy to begin to this one. And then Elizabeth over at Bibliophile Loves Books, she's the one who designed this readathon and announced it. And so she mentioned how she has some of these Little House on the Prairie generational spin-off series on her shelf. There's some of her oldest books. And so mine actually was the same thing. And so I've been putting these off because these are out of print and they're hard to find. And I am missing a sprinkling, a handful. So I have avoided reading them. But I have been reading, slowly reading the Martha years. This is Laura Ingalls Wilder's great-grandmother, and she's living in Scotland. And so I've read the first 3 books, and so this is the 4th one, so I'm going to read this. And I know Elizabeth has talked about doing a readathon of all of the generational books, including the Little House on the Prairie series, and going through to the Rose years, which is her daughter. And if she does it, I will happily participate and reread these. But yeah, I was like, why not read some of these books on my shelf? And then the other one is, once I finish this book, this will finish the Martha years, and then I'll start Charlotte, the Charlotte years, which is Laura Ingalls Wilder's grandmother. And so this is taking place in Boston in 1814, in Little House by Boston Bay, and this is by Melissa Wiley, and this one is as well. So happy to have read some of those. I know those will be like high on my TBR for the children's books. Karen Hess, Phoenix Rising. I got this book because Out of the Dust is one of my favorite children's books, especially for the Newbery books. And so this one, I've just stayed away from it. It's the accident at Cookshire changed Niall's life, but not in the way she expected. So this is focusing on the Cookshire nuclear power plant. So that is like, I don't know why I'm still claiming a nuclear power plant, like possible explosion. I'm not sure exactly what's going on here, because I've read books on Chernobyl, but they're not books I gravitate towards. So I don't, maybe I think that's why I haven't read this yet. And another Newbery medal is When You Reach Me by Rebecca Stead. It's the cover. I think the cover is why I haven't picked it up. Yeah, and it's not doing anything for me. This is, I am coming to save your friend's life and my own. I ask 2 favors. First, you must write me a letter. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to switch gears completely to some like history and literary books. And so The Odyssey by Homer. It's been lingering on my shelf. It's translated by Robert Fagles. It has the French flaps and the deckled edges, but it's The Odyssey, so that's why I haven't read it, which is silly. It's completely silly. I know this. It's just, yeah, I haven't read like the ancient classics a lot, or I've read a little bit. So I know if I just, use Google and Wikipedia, I can build my confidence in this, and I'm sure I'll love it. But yeah, thanks to this readathon, it's doing me good. The Virginia Woolf Reader, an anthology of her best short stories, essays, fiction, and nonfiction. And I read a couple of Virginia Woolf's books, including A Room of One's Own, and that's actually included in here, or a couple pages from, I guess, because there's a couple. It says from, so it's like From Mrs. Dalloway to the Lighthouse, Orlando, The Waves. So it's not the full length of any of those in here, but I want to focus on her essays. So there is about 6 or 7 essays in here that I want to read. Yeah, for her, it's like the stream of consciousness, that kind of thing. I don't always get along with it, but I feel like if anyone can do that, she can. I feel like she's like infamous for it. Yeah, I just need to give her a try. Mark Twain. So I have, there's actually 2 of the Library of America books on my TBR here, of the oldest books I own. I own maybe 10 or so little Library of America books, and I tend to pick them up, and I guess they just sit there because I have 2 of them on my TBR. But this includes Adventures of Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn, Life on the Mississippi, and Pudd'nhead Wilson. It's funny because, like, I mentioned at the beginning of the summer how I wanted to read Life on the Mississippi. So, yep, I'm doing it in August. And Pudd'nhead Wilson is the other one in this collection that I haven't read. So I at least want to read Life on the Mississippi. I have no idea what this one's about, Pudd'nhead Wilson, but maybe I'll find out. And then the other Library of America book is, it doesn't have the dust jacket, but it's Willa Cather. And I've read several of her books, but I have a bookmarker. Is that like, no, it's like middle of nowhere. I was wondering if I'd saved a spot. But it's stories, poems, and other writings. So it doesn't include any of her, it doesn't include any of her major novels. And those are the ones I've read. I've never read her. These are uncollected short stories, and then you have her collected bind up of short stories. And then speaking of Mark Twain, he's listed as a review or an essay that, there he is. So yeah, for sure, I'll have to read the Mark Twain and then read this. But yeah, it includes her reviews and short story collection. So yeah, I think these actually will go very well together. And then moving over to my nonfiction, Far From Any Coast, Pieces of America's Heartland by C.W. Guswell. And I don't know, it's just, maybe it's I don't know, yeah, something, maybe it's like the white spine. it's just been on my shelves. Oh. Okay, The Grizzlies of Mount McKinley by Adolph Murray. I don't know why this one has lingered, because I like Adolph Murray. I've read, let's see if I can find it really quick. I think it's way up there. But Two from the Far North. I love that, like, I guess you could call it memoir in a way, about the Murray, like, it's a couple that their early years of marriage, and how how she's raised in like the Fairbanks area when there was hardly a town there. Like, she was basically living in a little village. And then when she was married, they were going all over the place because her husband was a biologist. And so she was like almost like a first encounter. It was Alaska with all these different people, like, through her eyes. And so, way back in like, when was that? It's been several years since I read it. I don't know exactly what decade that would have been. But she was a huge support and, like, spearhead for saving so much of Alaska's land, so it's not developed. And so Adolph Murray is her husband's brother, and so he also was into biology and wildlife. And so I've read his other book, A Naturalist in Alaska, but haven't gotten to this one yet. So there's that one, and then The Triumph of Seeds by Thor Hansen. Seeds. That's why I haven't read it. I don't know. But what's funny is when I saw this was on my oldest book, I was like, do I want to keep this? A book about seeds? Like, how interesting could it be? But I looked at the dust jacket here, and it says, what makes The Triumph of Seeds remarkable is not just that it is informative, humane, hilarious, and even moving. Just as what makes seeds remarkable is not simply their fundamental importance to life. It's like sheer vitality and the delight that we can take in their existence, the opportunity to experience. As Hansen puts it, the simple joy of seeing something beautiful, doing what it's meant to do. Okay, it's gonna span the globe with a different seed. So the blurbs and like the description, it made me not get rid of it. Like I'm gonna try reading it this month. Let's see. Wild Within, How Rescuing Owls Inspire a Family by Melissa Hart. This is another one. No idea why I haven't read it. I love books on birds, owls. I mean, come on now. Okay, this is one. Yes, I know why I haven't gotten to this one yet. Campaigning with Grant by Horace Porter. I don't know. There's something about like the older looking dust jacket, and it's like heavy. And it feels like it'll be a dense book, but how can I say that when I haven't tried it yet? So I am bound and determined to try this book. At least crack it open and give it a start. Bruce Catton, The Civil War, baffling. Why haven't I read this book yet? in all this time. I love, Bruce Catton is like probably my favorite Civil War historian, and I've read all of his trilogies, but I haven't read this, so there you go. And then 2 giant tabletop kind of books. These linger on my shelf. Like, they're not difficult or overwhelming, daunting to look at, to read. So, but somehow or another, I just collect them, and then I have at the very top of my shelf, I have maybe 15 of these, and I've read some. I'll give myself some credit there, but many I haven't. So, National Wildlife Refuge by Eric J. Dolan, and this is a Smithsonian book. I have quite a few like National Geographic books, but it's just a very, very pretty book. So happy to get to this one. And then the last one here is The Last Wild Wolves: Ghost of the Rainforest. And let's see if I can. I'm like, what am I doing here? I can hear nothing to show there. But let me see here. It's by Ian McAllister, and here's the first picture of a wolf here, by University of California Press, and it's going to go through the different seasons: spring, summer, fall, winter. Let's see if I can find another. It's on the British Columbia coast there. And here's some wolf prints. The last readathon I'm participating in is the Deck of TBRathon. And this is where you, so you have 2 different teams you can join. There's red and black. And so I joined red, which is the TBR group. So it's like, if you're a TBR type reader to any extent, then you would want to pick that one. Or you have like the mood reader, that's the black team. And so with the deck of cards is coming into play, because you randomly pick a card. And it doesn't matter what color it is or the suit, it's just the number. And so I wish I could share this with you, because like I'm filming on my phone, which is where I did the random generator. But I picked my card and I got number 6, which is and there's 3 different prompts for each card you pick. There's 3 different options you can do, and each one is worth more points. So I'm doing this by memory. I think for me, for that one, it was like the low, like 1 point if you read a random color. And then for 3 points, it was read a random letter. And then I picked number 3, which is randomize your complete TBR. And so for that, I got this book, it was a book on wolves. And so yeah, I'm gonna be reading this before I pick my next card. And so for that, I collect points throughout this whole month, and then I submit however many points I get. Like my reading log gets sent over. Now that's like helping the red team out. And so it's really fun, because there is a prompt where I think it's if you pick an ace, that's where you go and look at the host's videos to see what prompt they're giving for that ace card. And then there's a couple other ones in there I saw where it's like read a book from the host TBR and things like that. So I am looking forward to like how this is going to help randomize all these books that I have. It's just I don't know. It just sounded like lots of fun. And I love like a competition, or especially a reading competition, where I know I can contribute something, because in terms of sports, sporting competitions, that's not my game at all. I was picked last in many a PE class because I cannot sport at all. I can read books about sports, but that's about it. But anyway, yeah, let me know if you're going to be participating in any of these readathons, and I will see you soon. Thanks, BookTube.